Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyra Wright, and I will be your moderator for this event. Welcome to the the League of Women Voters West Contra Costa Candidate Forum for candidates running for West Contra Costa Unified School District. We are co-sponsoring this event with West Contra Costa Unified School District. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off or silence their cell phones. And also, flash photography is not appropriate. So if you're taking pictures, no flash photography, please. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization, which means we do not support candidates or political parties. We can, however, take positions on issues when they can be based on League studies. It is the League's policy to ask that no one display campaign buttons, signs, or literature within this room. The table in the back or side of the room will contain materials for audience to take with you. Our timekeeper for this evening will be Mrs. Lawson. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our candidates, and they will have, after I introduce them, they will each have 2 minutes to give their opening remarks and give us an introduction of who they are. On the dais, we have Anthony Caro, Carlos Taboda, Consuelo Lara, Michael Gonzalez, Stephanie Hernandez-Jarvis, Tiffany Grensley, Patricio Duhan, Madeline Cronenberg, and Elizabeth Block. Starting with Anthony, would you please give us your opening?
Testing.
I didn't have the mic. Oh, that's fine.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Gatto, and I'm a proud product of public schools. Growing up in Los Angeles, I lived the achievement gap. I remember having to wake up at 4:30 in the morning so that way I could attend elementary and middle schools in very affluent areas. In contrast, I went to a Title I high school, and that's where I saw the difference that money can make in an education. When I came to the Bay Area, I started working in the warehouses in Richmond, and that's where I met former students of our district who too lived the achievement gap and experienced what money does in education. But that's when my career started. For the last couple years, I've been working as a community organizer in West County, meaning that I've listened to the needs of parents, teachers, and students, and I've advocated on those needs. I've attended almost every board meeting in the past few years, and I've fought for many issues. You may recognize me as one of the main organizers for March for Our Lives as well. Since then, I'm now 21 years old, and I went from a Richmond renter to a Richmond homeowner. I'm about to marry a beautiful fiance who's a teacher at Kennedy High School, who's a product of this school district. And I now run my own nonprofit organization called Citizens Power Network, where I work with high school students here in the district at Kennedy High School, LPS, Richmond High School, and as of this year, De Anza and Middle College, where we work on civic engagement, voter registration, voter education, and anything that has to do with getting them involved in the community. The reason I'm here before you today, the reason why I'm running, is because I want to improve the public school systems that we have so that way kids don't have to go through the same achievement gap that I went through. I want to ensure that we're providing high supports for our students and teachers so that way teachers can get the job done. I want to ensure that our high school students have a career or a college opportunity lined up for them. I want to make sure that we're really training them for the real world and that we're doing our jobs to provide a bright future for them. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Taboda, and I'd like to thank, first of all, the League of Women Voters and our district for organizing this series of forums. I think it's very, very important. I am a retired teacher with 21 years experience in our district. I have lived from the inside what our district needs, and I have shared the strengths that our district has. We have a wealth of talented teachers and students that are willing to learn. My campaign, Defend and Reform Public Education Now, centers around two interrelated objectives. One, the opportunity achievement gap, and the other one is the challenge that our district faces by the unregulated expansion of charter schools. I have made the ethical commitment that neither of these two can be ignored. It will be bad policy and it will be immoral to do so. With regards to the achievement gap, I think that we should shy away from easy solutions. The roots of the achievement gap are not biological, they are cultural, they are social, and they can be eliminated with smart, pedagogical, educational reform. Not magical formulas. With regards to the expansion of charter schools, let me tell you, without exaggerating, that our district is facing an existential crisis. We must find a way to put a cap. We already have 6,000 of our students enrolled in charter schools, and given their expansion, making waves, caliber, the one that is co-located in this campus, in a matter of 3 years, that number will double, and we will have 30% of our students in charter schools, and we will be undergoing a grave financial loss. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Consuelo Lara, and I live in San Pablo. I have 38 years of teaching experience. I've taught everything from second grade up to adult school, and I am now retired. I've retired here in the district where I have taught since 1998. And I've taught at Crespi, Helms Middle, and Richmond High. I have settled in this community because this is a community that I feel close to and committed to the schools, the teachers, and the students. So before I retired, I was teaching ELD. I know the English Learner Program. I know the English Learner families and students and their needs. Now that I've retired, I also volunteer at the local school, the high school, where I have a group of high-risk, at-risk girls that I've been tutoring for. We're going on our 3rd year now, mentoring them, primarily to make sure they don't drop out, and then beyond that as well. I also have a club of students who want to be teachers in the future, and currently I'm also working on putting together some job fairs with the unions at the different high schools, because I'm very concerned about students being job ready to get a job the minute they graduate. That's what I'm going to be all about during my 1st year, because I think we need to look at the issue of poverty and do something to break this cycle of poverty that many of our students have to go through. So thank you very much.
My name is Michael Gonzalez, and I am married to I've been married to the same woman for the last 3 decades, and I still enjoy her. I believe I was asked for a personal introduction, and that's the most personal thing that I can say. We have 4 children and 1 grandson, and we've lived in this area for the last 20 years. I have been a classroom teacher, a school principal, and most recently an expert on school reform. And that created one of the greatest frustrations in my life, because since 2002, I've traveled around the state of California, closing achievement gaps, raising achievement for all students, and doing that in communities where I didn't live, and watched with great frustration as this district failed to look at itself in a systemic way and consider the practices of other districts that have achieved great success with similar populations. And so with that in mind, that's why I felt I could no longer just sit on the outside and criticize, or sit peripherally and provide support that was more tangential, but I needed to be in the center of this effort, because as it's been mentioned already, some of the most spectacular teachers I've ever seen, and I've been in 2,000 classrooms minimally in the last 10 years. Some of the most spectacular teachers I've ever seen are in this district, and administrators. The puzzle pieces are there. We need a vision that describes where we need to go in an urgent and an emergency fashion, and that's why I've decided to run and to do what I can to improve this school district.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hernandez-Jarvis, and I'm a public school teacher here in Pinole at Stewart K-8 School. One of my favorite quotes is from Sandra Cisneros' book, House on Mango Street, and it says, "Keep, keep, keep, trees say when I sleep, they teach." And that book taught me a lot about perseverance, about not caring where you come from, but where you're going. I am an immigrant from Ensenada, Baja California del Norte, Mexico, and I came here at the age of 10 with dreams of a brighter life. My parents brought me here because they believed that education was what was going to change my life forever. And I believe that. This is my 5th year teaching, and I love being a teacher. I love interacting with the families. I love teaching kids in the area, but I do not like that teachers are not supported in the way that makes them feel valued in the profession and want to stay in the profession. I think it's very true that we have great communities. We have so much potential, but we need to have a clear vision of what we want our kids to do. Do we want them to be global citizens of a community that is connected through language? Do we want them to be ready for college and post-secondary studies? Do we want them to be proud of who they are and reach higher to really keep on learning and be growing as citizens that we want, to have in our community, and support them throughout their lives, not just as kids, but also when they're in college and what it looks like for them to come back to the community and give back as well. I think that's something that's really important for me, is to highlight that I enjoy teaching and I have a lot of support, and I really believe that if we have teacher retention increase, we're going to have academic scores that will go up, because we will be able to build school cultures that are strong, that prevent bullying, that promote healthy environment for our kids to learn in and to feel safe and to feel valued and to feel cared about. So yes, I love being a teacher, and I want to step up and have a greater impact on the school board. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Grimsley. I'm a second-generation Bay Area native. I grew up in El Cerrito, went to schools in El Cerrito and Richmond, so I'm a product of the West Contra Costa Unified School District, although at that time it was the Richmond Unified School District. I have lived in probably every city in this area, but my husband and I settled in Hercules about 5 years ago. I'm the married mother of 3. My oldest daughter just graduated from Cal Poly Pomona, and my second oldest child is heading off to UC Santa Cruz. He recently graduated from Hercules High School. And I'm happy to have my youngest son here tonight, who just started middle school and has homework to finish now. I jumped into education right out of undergrad, working at Berkeley High School as a teacher. I did not have a teaching credential. I was slapped with an emergency credential after passing the CBEST, and I went into what I considered just crazy chaos. It was so crazy and bureaucratic that I jumped right out, and I started working for the University of California, and that's where I ended up making my career. In my 15 years of employment with the University of California, I spent 8 of those years as assistant director for MBA admissions at the Haas School of Business. During my time at the Haas School of Business, what I saw was a lack of diversity in graduate students, and even a lack of diversity in the undergraduate population, particularly as it pertained to underrepresented minorities. I became very concerned about building the pipeline to higher education. I think that all children, no matter their background, has the right to a quality education that will lead them to the point where they have the opportunity to pursue an undergraduate or graduate degree if they so choose.
Hello. So, good evening. Thank you for being here. My name is Patricio Duhan, and I'm running for school board because I believe that we can do better. I believe that we can become a district where all students have an opportunity to learn and almost every student is succeeding. I bring valuable experiences and perspectives. I would bring valuable experiences and perspectives to the school board. I'm a father with 2 daughters in public schools. They attend Washington Elementary School in Point Richmond. I'm also an immigrant. Y vine a este país cuando tenía 7 años hablando nada de inglés. So I came to the United States speaking no English when I was 7. And thanks in large part to public education and public education teachers, I was able to learn to read, I was able to succeed academically, I was able to attend UC Berkeley and attend graduate school at UC San Diego. And then I've dedicated my career to education, teaching in elementary school and in middle school, in high poverty districts and schools that students were facing the same challenges and unfortunately some of the same traumas that some of the students that attend West Contra Costa deal with. So I know what it's like working with families and supporting students that really need that support. I've continued in my education career as a national education leader, working with districts, superintendents that are transforming their district, really focusing on teaching and learning. So I bring those valuable perspectives and that valuable experience to the school board as a father, as an immigrant, as a teacher, and as an education leader. So thank you for your support, and you can visit my website at www.patricio4kids.com. Thank you.
Good evening. And thank you for being here, and thank you for watching if you're watching the video. And thank you to all my colleagues for coming tonight. One thing about our election, unlike a lot of others, is that this is a community that has always shown great care and love for its children. That's why other school districts have, and other elections have hardly anybody running in them, and we, on the other hand, have 11 people running for this position. I've had the position for the last 12 years. I first got elected in 2006. Before that, I first became involved with the school district in 1986, when my oldest child started kindergarten. And I've been here ever since. I've been an active parent throughout that entire time. There was 16 years between my children, and so I was 16 years in each of the schools that we were in, and I got to see all of the progress that's been made. I've seen the progress we've made on the board, but there's a lot still to be done. We need to really look to the future and make sure that our children continue to have the trajectory they're on now. I believe we're doing a tremendous amount of good work, especially with our teachers. Everything, our success is in the hands of our teachers. We've given them a big raise with the hope that that will help have them stay here and have this not be a district where you just learn how to be prepared to go to a higher paying district. We're the higher paying district now, and I think what's going to happen is we're going to be the district that has the best teachers, because we're going to be able to now keep and train and keep them. And I'm committed to staying on the board to see it happen. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to spending the rest of the hour with you.
Hi, I'm Liz Block. I'm currently on the school board, and I want to thank you for attending tonight. I hope that by the end of the evening you will see why I deserve a second term on the Board of Education. During my first 4 years in office, I pushed for and we achieved a 14.5% raise for our teachers, bringing their salaries up from the bottom as compared to other teachers in the county to the top. I headed a committee that put in controls in our $1.7 billion bond program and helped begin an ambitious project to improve climate in our schools and make sure that our disciplinary practices are fair and evenly meted out to our students. And probably the most important thing I've brought is a focus on teaching and learning, because I know in order to improve, kids need to be taught directly. We don't need to just train their teachers. We have to focus on those kids and get in there and give them some direct instruction in the area where they're lacking. During my second term, I'm going to continue to use metrics to improve student achievement. I want to bring more support to our teachers and to treat them more like professionals and eliminate willful defiance in our schools. As a leader who supports a new direction for our students, I can't say all the rest of it in my time. My priorities are putting kids first, rebuilding trust in our schools, and equipping our students for the 21st century. It's clear that all these people care about students, but I've done the work. I was a principal at a transformation school, and I know how to transform schools. Thank you.
Thank you to all of the presenters who have given your introductions. At this time, we will begin with our questions. The questions have been predetermined by the League of Women Voters. At the end of our list of questions, we will turn to the audience should we have enough time, in which case you will need to write your questions out. We do have paper here, and then we can bring it forward to the panelists, to the candidates, excuse me. Starting our first question, and some of the questions may be lengthy in terms of getting to the question, so if you need me to repeat any part of it, please let me know. You will have 1 minute in which to answer the question before we go on to the next person. First question, I will start with Ms. Block. If you are elected trustee, to whom are you accountable? What form will your accountability take?
I'm accountable to the kids in our schools, and I am accountable to their parents for educating their kids. It is the responsibility of the board to see that our students are safe, receive a good education, and leave our schools ready to go to college or whatever job they choose. So I answer to the kids. Was there a second part to the question? I'm sorry.
What form will your accountability take?
Focusing on teaching and learning, making sure that we are using techniques in our schools that help our teachers know when they are teaching effectively and when they need to step aside and talk to their colleagues and find new ways to address the areas that they're teaching. So I will do it by focusing like a laser beam on teaching and them feeling good about the time that they spend between our walls.
Thank you. Mr. Carl, same question. If you are elected trustee, to whom are you accountable? What form will your accountability take?
Well, this is a really good question because accountability is something that I've really been pushing. So I would be accountable to students, teachers, parents, and community members in that order. Students, teachers, parents, community members. The way that my accountability, the form would be active listening. Right now, the board puts out fires when they come up. A parent will come up and give public comment, and that's when the district addresses that issue. A student will address an issue, and then that's when that issue will get addressed. I think that school board members should be actively listening to students, parents, and teachers and asking what can we do rather than waiting for them to come to the district and say what needs to be done. So if I'm elected a school board member, I would implement more systems for students to be able to voice their concerns, more systems for the district to communicate, to better communicate with parents on what's going on. For this forum specifically, I talked to a father who didn't even know this was going on, and he's a parent at this school, Pinole Middle. So in order for us to have adequate accountability systems, we need to make sure that we have better communication with our students, parents, and teachers.
Ms. Cronenberg, if you are elected trustee, to whom are you accountable? What will your accountability take? What form will your accountability take?
Thank you. I'm accountable to all the families in the school district and to the entire community. Because, you know, the old saying, it does take a village. And I'm accountable to the village. I'm a representative of the village. Primarily, the job here is to manage, to select and manage our CEO. That's what a board does. The board has one employee, the superintendent, and our job is to make sure that our superintendent is the best person for the job and is well managed as he or she performs the job. So the form that my accountability would take is the accountability, the process of making sure that our superintendent, whoever has that role, is responsive to the community and responsive to our children's needs and understands what it is what kinds of tweaks have to be made in order to have us become the high-performing district that our whole community wants us to be.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mr. Taboda, excuse me.
Well, I will be accountable to the entire community, like it has been said before, students, parents, community, and I would ask also from all this personnel, from city elected officials, from our community leaders. I think that the education of our children is an affair that takes all of us together. Also, I have a different view. I think that our academic problems, such as the achievement gap, are rooted in the socioeconomic circumstances of our students. And I would follow the solutions that we'll be implementing to remedy this achievement gap. By following, closely monitoring, I would not expect immediate results the first year or the second year. These are solutions that we need to wait for maybe a minimum of a 3-year lapse to see if the reforms that we are implementing will work.
Mr. Duhan, same question. If you are elected trustee, to whom are you accountable? What form will your accountability take?
So the first and foremost, I would be accountable to students in the district, students and families, and I would prioritize their needs. And then secondly, I would be accountable to everyone in the community, the voters, and every community member, regardless of whether they voted or not. And then my accountability focused on students as the North Star and students first is what's happening with outcomes and what's happening in the classroom. District data shows that 70% of third graders are not reading proficiently, and that 90% of African American students are not proficient in math in 6th grade. Those are recipes for a lot of the challenges that we're seeing in high school and middle school and beyond. So I would focus on making sure that we get proficiency across the board so all students could succeed early, supports for those that are not, and bring those numbers up immediately.
Ms. Lara, same question. If you are elected trustee, to whom are you accountable? What form will your accountability take?
Thank you. I would be accountable to the community of students and parents. And I know that as a classroom teacher that there are a lot of avenues in the district to connect with the parents, for instance, PTAs, the coffee clubs, the school site councils. There are a lot of organizations within the district where you can talk directly to the parents and the families, and being accountable to the students as well. As a classroom teacher, at the end, I would always ask them, how could I be better, teacher? What suggestions do you have for me? Sometimes kids can be harsh, but they're real and they tell you the truth. I don't mind asking, what do you need? What can I do? And then asking them, did I accomplish what you wanted me to do?
Ms. Grimsley, same question.
So I think we've all kind of covered and agreed that the entire community is important. Madeline Kronberg referenced the proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, and I think it takes that same village to educate a child. I would really like to see more opportunities for the community to come together in support of our children in the district, and I think it could be an important factor in improving the quality of education for all children. Anthony Carl mentioned that there was a parent from this school that didn't know that this forum was happening tonight. And I think those kinds of things happen frequently because we have so many working parents and their time constraints. And I would like to open up to the community some town hall meetings, some small group forums, opportunities where parents and teachers and concerned community members could come together and we can work together to improve the quality of education within our district.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, same question.
Thank you. As a pastor, I would be accountable, first of all, to God, to ensure that every child is treated as it is stated in the Bible, that they are made in the image and likeness of God. What form that would take is the fact that this is a district that is in the emergency room trying to tell the doctors what prescriptions are needed to cure the presenting factors. I would be pushing very, very hard for an increase in an acceleration of the 2022 plan and to building greater accountability. A case in point is the current plan for this district indicates that we will have reading intervention starting in middle school. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. Therefore, I would be pushing for a more urgent implementation of the reform practices and built in more accountability for all that are involved in the system.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez-Jarvis.
So first of all, I would be held accountable to the students and to their families, to the community. I believe in transparency and I believe in data, using data that we gather from formative and cumulative assessments as well. I believe that I also need to be accountable to fellow teachers in the sense that I would support their lead in the way that we should continue to educate and support our kids. I believe in having informal gatherings with community members. I believe in increasing parent advocacy programs, and I think that's the way that I would be held accountable to my job as a school board member, by having actual people that help me to get on the board, be there and remind me of why I'm here and make sure that I'm staying true to why I'm on the board in the first place. I would also like to be transparent in the way that we gather data when it comes to literacy and how we're promoting early literacy strategies before our kids get to third grade.
Thank you. And we have someone who's joined the candidates, Vanessa Calloway. So that you understand, questions have been predetermined by the League of Women Voters. You each have 1 minute in which to answer the questions. We have a timer. Joanne Lawson, and she will be taking care of the time. Okay, the question that has been asked to everyone is, if you are elected trustee, to whom are you accountable? What form will your accountability take?
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to apologize for my tardiness. The form that it would take is the reason of my tardiness. I work in the community, and I actually facilitate an after-school program, and program isn't over until 5:45, and I don't get off until 6, which is why I'm just now walking in the door. So please know that I do have a respect of time. And so in the question, my commitment is to the community at large, not just our students, because I understand we have adult school as well, so not just our children, but our adult students as well, and getting out there, building relationships and having opportunities to speak to them and hear from them what they feel is needed and will be of benefit to them within their community and their success. Thank you.
The next question is going to have a lengthy top-in followed by the question. So listen carefully, and if you need me to repeat it, please let me know. It takes 26 years of extensive STEM education to practice cancer radiology. But artificial intelligence is now outperforming human practitioners. Many other high-paying occupations will follow. The college premium, the amount an average college graduate earns above non-college graduates is rapidly decreasing, while ballooning student debt is limiting life choices for millennials. Question: with these rapid societal changes occurring, what would be the purpose of a West Contra Costa Unified School District education, and what guidance should we provide students? And we'll start this out with Ms. Hernandez-Jarvis. Yes. It takes 26 years of extensive STEM education to practice cancer radiology, but artificial intelligence is now outperforming human practitioners. Many other high-paying occupations will follow. The college premium, the amount an average college graduate earns above non-college graduates, is rapidly decreasing, while ballooning student debt is limiting life choices for millennials. With these rapid societal changes occurring, what should be the purpose of a West Contra Costa Unified School District education, and what guidance should we provide students?
I think that this question touches on something that's very important, and that is post-secondary studies that extend beyond college. I think that going to college is a priority, and I think that there are jobs that are non-STEM related that do benefit the community, the individual, and have long-term economic impact in positive ways. But I do believe also that we need to have students explore early on careers that they're interested in that aren't necessarily requiring a college degree. So, for example, if you want to work in a trade that you can become acquainted with in high school, I think that we need to support that kind of education as well. With early childhood, too, there's a big demand for childcare, and even a lot of millennial parents like myself, we have to figure out who's going to take care of our child when we're at work. So I think that pushing that exploration early on in high school would also help our students who may not necessarily want to go to college, but want to have a very skilled profession to pursue these and raise their economic chances.
Thank you. Ms. Calloway, I'm going to ask the same question. Did you need me to repeat the top end? The first part, okay? It takes 26 years of extensive STEM education to practice cancer radiology, but artificial intelligence is now outperforming human practitioners. Many other high-paying occupations will follow. The college premium, the amount an average college graduate earns above non-college graduates, is rapidly decreasing, while ballooning student debt is limiting life choices for millennials. With these rapid societal changes occurring, what should be the purpose of a West Contra Costa Unified School District education, and what guidance should we provide students?
Thank you. I think we should provide serving the whole child and having everything available for them, meaning exposing them early on. So in elementary school, exposing them to different trades in regards to field trips and to things of that nature. And then in middle school, exposing them to the classes that we would offer in high school, the home ec classes, the trade classes, mechanics and things of that nature, not waiting until they get to high school so they can be well versed and readily prepared for what's ahead of them. Okay. And talking to them and providing other service providers to come in and share from their experiences. So college as well as trade should be exposed to our students at a very young age. And I believe middle school is where it should begin, and some exposure in elementary school, being 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. Thank you.
Ms. Grimsley, same question.
I think there will. There we go. How many candidates does it take to turn on the microphone? It takes a village. One tech over there. I think there's great value in education always. Beyond employment opportunities, beyond life choices, the value of learning is of great value in and of itself. As far as the value of a West Contra Costa Unified School District education, I think the K through 12 education process may have to look at restructuring or redesigning to meet the needs of our new environment and the changes that are coming. We are a more technological society now, and that will only increase over time. I do support, Vanessa Callaway alluded to this, partnerships with the universities and colleges that we have available to us in the area. There are already really great existing STEM programs and all sorts of other programs available through the University of California, Berkeley, but also through the community college system and businesses. We're chock full of a variety of businesses. We're not that far away from the tech hub of the world, so we can make this work.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. In my mind, this is a very simple issue. Children have to be able to read before they exit third grade. It is an emergency that they be able to read before they exit third grade, because after third grade, there's no one on earth who is equipped to teach them to read. And what happens after third grade is now you read to learn. And so when children are equipped to read to learn, they figure out a future that is not yet in existence. The reality is the children that are born today, even the children that are attending this middle school, will have the jobs in the future that don't exist today. So partnerships with people who are looking backwards can actually be detrimental, because what we are doing is trying to fit people into pre-existing jobs that may not exist in the future. The whole point is we need an accelerated effort to teach all kids to read before third grade, and after that they read to learn, and then they are equipped to create their own future.
Thank you very much. Mr. Duhan, same question. Did you need me to repeat anything?
Just the last part.
The question, okay. With rapid societal changes occurring, what should be the purpose of a West Contra Costa Unified School District education, and what guidance should we provide students?
So the purpose, in my mind, of the West Contra Costa education is to prepare students for the future, and in many cases for a future that we don't know what's to come and what exists. Students that are graduating high school today that were in kindergarten many years ago lived in a world without iPhones, lived in a very different world, and what they're being expected to do in jobs today did not exist when they were in school. So we need to focus on collaboration, on problem solving, on critical thinking, on growth mindset, and really in equipping them to understand and synthesize information. In order to do that, we've got to make sure that they're reading, we've got to make sure that they're doing math. Like I said earlier, 90% of African American students are not proficient in math in 6th grade. If you're there, it's very hard to take the next steps that we need. But really the purpose is to prepare them for a future that we're not sure where we're headed, but we know that technologically we're advancing at a very rapid rate.
Thank you. Ms. Laura?
Okay. I went to a town hall put on by Mark DeSagne, our congressman, and it was called The Future of Work. And he talked about our economic situation right now and how this reality is very different than what we experience. So, older people, I guess. He made this statement that the young people, millennials, could expect to have about 6 different careers, not jobs, careers in their lifetime. I thought that was amazing thing, to have to prepare our young people for. So it is our obligation to create teamwork with our community college, with our unions, with our trades, and develop CTE classes so that our students are ready, not maybe just one, but more than one career when they graduate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cronenberg?
Thank you. This is a really interesting question for me. I spent 30 years as a career technical teacher at Hayward Adult School. And my students and I lived this. When I started in 1980, the jobs, I had the only computer in Hayward Unified School District. I was the first computer teacher. When I left, I was running a computer lab in 2010. I've seen the changes, and what I know is what we need to teach our students are the skill sets that will go past the technology. Technology is going to change, we know it. It's changing every minute. But what Google says is the most important thing is the soft skills. They're not looking for somebody who knows a specific, well, they are looking for certain skill sets, but they know that they're going to outgrow them and they're going to have to retrain them. So we need to continue to make sure our students get the character skills and the ability to learn new things and be adaptable and expect to have to change.
Thank you. Mr. Taboda?
Okay, that's a very good question. What should be the purpose of the education that West Contra Costa gives our students? I think that we should be responsible not only for the immediate present, but also for the future. And I think that we have been shortchanging our students dramatically. We have been following so-called college-going culture without really having made any improvements in it. Only 40% of our graduates are college ready, and the other 60% are ready for what? Not much. I propose a program that will give everyone vocational and career education for all. Our students have the time. I have a transfer here from a school that every high school student has 55 credit hours. That's about 5 years of one subject that they can take. I think that we should let our teachers teach to the needs of the students in front of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Block?
Thank you. I think we should basically do what we've been doing, although we need to focus more on teaching students how to learn. And that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be needing a basic foundation of skills, and then they're going to need how to know how to learn new things. And that is in line with the Common Core, because our Common Core sets standards for each grade level, and they are much more abstract, work more on making generalizations and learning to learn rather than giving back rote information. So I think that also our pathways are really doing a good job of getting our students in line for careers and learning to learn, because they will be changing jobs often, as we all know.
Thank you. Mr. Kyle.
Everybody's talking about millennials, and I'm sitting right here. So this is a very theoretical question, and it needs to be addressed with a practical answer. There are students right now who don't even know what jobs that they can grab right now. The purpose of our district should be to prepare our students for life after high school, for the real world. And jobs are evolving. That's been said. That's a fact. That's something we can all agree on. Like, there's pretty much only 3 industries that stay the same, and that's the food industry, that's teaching, and that's the military. If we want to prepare our students for what's out there, we need to expose them. And that needs to be at a very early age. We need to start having career fairs at the elementary school level so that when students can see what they do,
when I was in elementary school, I only knew what my father did. But like I said, I went to a very affluent school, and we had Farmer John come in every now and then and tell us about farming. You know, we had the computer guy come and talk to us about that. By the middle school and the high school level, we need to start exposing our students to internships. You need job experience in order to get a job right now. And trust me, I know that. So if we want to make that happen, we need to start giving our students internships and fellowship opportunities now.
Thank you. Our next question. East Side Union Superintendent Chris Funk asserts that boards granting charter applications that lead to diminished resources for districts amounts to a breach of the trustee fiduciary duty. The legal obligation to put the interests of district students and staff ahead of all other considerations. Is granting a charter application at the expense of district students a breach of fiduciary duty? Why or why not? And we'll address the first person to answer this question, Ms. Grinsley. If you would like me to repeat any part of it, please let me know.
Okay. So this is a big question, and we have a lot of controversy around charter schools right now, and funds being taken away from the public school system to fund charter schools. And then on the other hand, we have a lot of families with an interest in an alternate type of education for their children. So while I firmly believe in parent or family members' right to choose the best kind of education or what they believe to be the best education for their individual child, I do believe that we need to focus on strengthening our public education system. And in the West Contra Costa Unified School District, we need to retain the funds in the district and in order to strengthen our schools. So this is really, it's quite a quandary. What I think is that we need to learn from the charter education programs first and foremost. I'm over time.
Thank you. Ms. Laura, same question.
I believe that charter corporations and foundations are all controlled by billionaires whose goal is to dismantle public education, and the workers, the unions, and to privatize their public schools so that they can profit from them. And that's what I personally believe. I think local school boards must have the final power to deny petitions and renewals and to make those facility decisions. There should be no appeals. These are our public funds and should stay there. Oh, I still have time. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Because the standards of those schools are not as high as those that we have within the district. For instance, the expulsion and suspensions, the pushing out of special ed students and English learners, the credentialing of the teachers, they are not giving a high quality education that they are telling us.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. DuPont.
So charter schools are here because they're filling a need that in many cases the local public schools are not. When I talk to parents, the majority of parents want to send their child to a school down the street that's accessible, that they can walk to, bike to, and be confident in. Unfortunately, that's not the case for too many of our students. I would not send my two daughters to any school in the district. If you said pick a school out of the hat, wherever they go, they're going to go. I know that for too many, in too many cases, I would not feel comfortable with them in any school. So I understand why parents are looking for alternatives. So what we have to do is focus really on bringing up the academic performance and changing the culture across all of our schools so that more parents are not choosing to go to charters and are choosing to go to their traditional local schools. So that's where the focus would be. And at the moment, I would also be thinking about what's the vision for the charter schools that are in the district to have a plan to incorporate them more into the vision of the district. So it's not a we versus them perspective.
Thank you. Mr. Cotto.
So as I mentioned before, I do work in our district schools. I do work in charter schools here. And what I've seen is that we have parents that have students at both schools. We have students that maybe go to middle school in one of our district schools. Maybe, maybe they go here and then for high school. Maybe they'll go to a charter school. To parents and students, all they want is a better education system. They just want the best school for them. And I want to ensure that our district schools can provide that. I've been listening to parents, and sorry, I already said that. I think that charter schools are causing a financial burden on the district, but we shouldn't just get rid of them, because that isn't leading with empathy. If we really want to do a justice to our parents, we need to ensure that our district schools are performing so well that we don't need the charter schools. And then we can start doing our fiduciary duty to the district and ensuring that our teachers are cared for, our students are cared for, our facilities look really nice, and then we could, go to the moon. So what we need to do is ensure that our district schools perform so well that we don't need charter schools.
Thank you.
Okay, look.
You will get your Ms. Block,
Thank you. No, it's not a breach of the law to approve charters, or it's not a breach of our responsibility. We're following the law, which we have to do. But in Sacramento, a lot of changes are being made for charter school authorizations that I think will improve the situation. But hey, charters don't cause all our financial problems. What about low attendance? Do you know how many millions of dollars we could recoup if we pretend attendance, improve attendance, and we never talk about it? We're too busy talking about charters. If parents have a choice of going to a school that's working at the first percentile, only 1% of the students are learning at grade level, yes, they should have the choice to go somewhere else if they so choose. And when a student has been in a school like that and then goes to a charter and is learning more, we should be happy for that particular child. And I think we are just using charters too often in a way to blame, attribute our budget problems.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will next hear from Mr. Taboda.
Well, I would say most definitely to grant a charter petition is against the fiduciary common sense. A recent study was made of three districts: Oakland, San Diego, and I believe the one you mentioned, the east side. And the results are amazing. Okay, Oakland, with 38,000 students, is suffering a net loss of $57 million per year. Here in Contra Costa, with 30,000 students approximately, and around 6,000 students in charter schools, we are suffering, by my conservative estimate, a net loss of between $25 and $30 million per year. So we all agree that we need to reform public education and make it a lot better, okay? But with this hemorrhage, we need to be worried about as I said earlier, the existential survival of our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez.
The quick answer is yes. Should not be. If you are a trustee of this district, you have to be operating in the best interest of this district, which would mean that to give away students and resources that go along with those students is to give up on those students and to give up on yourself. If I wanted to run an alternative to the school district, then I would be running for a board that was an alternative. One of the greatest examples of power in America is when you define for somebody their reality and cause them to live through it. What I'm talking about is this: there are people who have been mentioned here already, millionaires, billionaires that are saying we're doing better than the public school. And we're doing it better based on these measures and then causing you to chase after those measures. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. My son just went to Harvard. He had his chance of any other school in America. Why? Because he went to Terra Hills.
Thank you. Ms. Calloway.
I'm all for parent choice. However, I do feel that we are losing a lot of money to the charter schools. There's 14 charter schools within our district, and 11 of them are in Richmond. And as it's been said, we're losing millions of dollars here. However, I feel that our current district, we have to do better because we're failing our babies. And so in order to do that, we have to work along with our families, with our teachers, and with our administrators, and create a district where our parents don't want to leave and go to the charter schools. But I'm so public school. I'm a product of the public school, and I know that it works. And I know that we have some great teachers and some great administrators here, but we have to work together to rectify the issue within and hold those teachers and administrators that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing accountable. And I think if we work together and make everyone accountable, we can get on the path where we need to be in serving our children.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez-Jarvis.
I think that if we're talking about a fiduciary duty, we need to look at what California state law has for the approval of charter schools. I think that we need to go that route to actually increase the type of local control that we have of charters to keep them here local, keep them, if we're going to approve them, have them be what families need them to be. But I do think that we need to look at the long-term fiscal impact and facilities impact that charters have in the tight-knit community. And I think it's important to not ostracize the teachers and the families and the students that choose to go the charter school route because they are part of this district. We need to support them, and we need to figure out a way to integrate what we have now and to make those connections better. And we need to make our community schools, our actual schools here, better so that the kids are there and the parents want to keep the kids there. I think we have a lot of work to do, but I think we can do it together.
Thank you. Ms. Cronenberg.
Thank you. So the short answer is that I agree with the superintendent from Eastside. It is a breach of our fiduciary duty. Our fiduciary duty is to this community and the children who go to the West Contra Costa Unified School District. We're not supposed to, in good conscience, do things that we know will take money away from those children. And as you go forward and approve a charter school without recognizing the negative economic impact it's going to have on the children in the district schools, you're doing something no other agency in the state of California is required to do, and that is to act against the oath of office that you took to represent the children who are in the district schools. My hope is that this will change, that the charter school law will not require us to do this. I've had to do it, and I struggle with it every time for this exact reason. In Oakland, they're absolutely hemorrhaging money, and their solution is to cut suppers for the most vulnerable children of all. We can't continue like this. We have to change the law.
Thank you. Our next question. The West Contra Costa community vigorously organized to assure that Rocket Ship Charter School's application to open in San Pablo was denied by the local, county, and state boards of education. Rocket Ship can, with a few edits, resubmit the application, altered to cure the reasons for denial, beginning the process anew. The board has a narrow legal process to follow when weighing a charter application. Past denial is not a factor. The question, and I'm going to start with Mr. Gonzalez. The question is, How would you approach a resubmittal of rocket ship's improved application?
First of all, I wouldn't assume that it would be improved, it would be edited. Going back to where I left off in my previous answer, I talked about the fact that my son is attending Harvard after attending Brown because he went to Terra Hills. The reason why that was significant is because he lived in Terra Hills, and that there was more to your education than content matters. There's also the mindset and the cultural practices from attending a public school that you know is grounded and rooted in your community. And so I would look at any application on its own merits, but I wouldn't necessarily assume that it would be improved. Because my question would always be to the charters. They point to content expertise, but they don't point to the social and emotional development of our children. They avoid that altogether.
Thank you. Mr. Duhan, same question. How would you approach a resubmittal of rocket ship's improved application?
So I would approach a resubmittal. I agree that improved is subjective, so it's a revised application. And then, as a board member, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I would have to follow the law. I think you're sworn in to follow the law, and I would follow the law that the state of California has provided. I would be very discerning in looking at it, and I would make sure that the edits were, I would try to determine if there was an improvement in that or not. And then I would also talk to parents, because if parents in that scenario really organized to not have rocket ship open and then went all the way through the approval process. So there was something there that the community really stood up against, and I would try to bring their voices into the process. And I would encourage them to also be working with Sacramento if they have strong convictions to really look at the law, so that we would have some flexibility as needed to bring in other criteria.
Thank you. Ms. Calloway, same question.
Like the other two gentlemen said, I wouldn't necessarily just assume that it would be approved, but I would look at it and take necessary measures and ask the appropriate questions. And I would also, I know that there's work already continuing in Sacramento through some of our parents and some other community leaders, and I would encourage them to continue with that work so that some of the laws can be changed. Because again, I personally do not believe that we need another charter school within our district, and so that would just be, that's my personal belief. But I would follow the law if elected as school board trustee. And again, involve the community, because the community is the one that is impacting our finances, but overall, it's what our community needs.
Thank you. Ms. Block, same question.
Thank you. Well, I would, of course, give the application a fair reading, a fair appraisal. But frankly, there were many reasons why they weren't approved, and some of them would be difficult to change without really changing the way that they run their school. And then there were some other issues with school board meetings and the like that seem fairly fixed because they have a parent company that they work for. So I really think that I would wonder why they would want to come back, but we have to be fair when we look at every application. It would be very difficult to bring rocket ship, and they would have to have made some fundamental changes.
Thank you. Mr. Cotto.
So myself, Carlos, Consuelo, and Madeline, we actually were some of the community members that went all the way to Sacramento to protest Rocket Ship's petition. The reason why I went was because there was not enough community support for Rocket Ship. Parent choice is one thing. This is what I said. Parent choice is one thing, but our community did not choose Rocket Ship. As I mentioned, I'm a community organizer, so when Rocket Ship first submitted their petition, one of the things that I did was talk to teachers at Rocket Ship in San Jose and see, okay, what's really going on? Put aside all the rhetoric, what is Rocket Ship really like? And it's in my personal opinion that they're not what's best for our district. But the question is, if they were to edit their petition, would I approve it? First off, no, but what does the law compel me to do? And if the law would compel me to say yes, well, I'd say that we need to reform the law. Currently, the law says that you only have 5 reasons to deny a charter school. In my opinion, we need to reform this because that's like submitting a job application, and then the boss has to find something wrong with you in order to not hire you, and that's not the way life works.
Thank you. Ms. Kronder.
So as Mr. Karras said, I was at the Rocket Ship hearing and vigorously defended our position that the petition should be denied. And I'll just say this, as I said before, I think it's unconscionable that we're expected to have to betray our fiduciary duty and take money away from our children when we spend so much time over the years of my career. Everyone has spent time trying to grow the money that is available for our children. It would be very, very difficult for me to approve another petition from Rocket Ship. And what I am truly, truly hoping is that when the new state superintendent comes in and the new governor comes in, the law gets changed and that the fact that economic impact becomes a reason to deny a charter school, and that the appeal process be eliminated and we actually get local control, which is what they say we have now, but we don't.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez-Jarvis.
In the previous question, I mentioned that we have to increase local control over charter school petitions by amending state law. And I firmly stand by that because I think that if we want to increase our local control and what our community says, we need to have the actual law back us up. I also think that accountability. One of the other questions was, who are you accountable to? I'm accountable to the community. If it's already been overturned at the school district level, at the county level, at the state level, it means it has no place here. And I think that we need to have the law on our side. We need to amend California law to be able to do so, and to not have to go through a whole other petition that was just changed a little bit to be put up before the board again. So I think that we need to have local control and not have to go through the same process that takes time away from other really important matters for our kids.
Thank you. Ms. Laura.
Yes, I think the school board has an obligation to make sure they look at the whole district and determine at that point, is there really a need for this approval of this charter? And I think past denial should be taken into account because obviously there was a reason for that. And also, we need to make sure it's not enough for you to bring us a whole bunch of signatures. That is not enough to say, oh, we got the community behind us. Because we know they stand out in front of stores, they go knocking on doors, they hire people to do this recruiting. So we need to know more than that this really came from. The other, we used to have, we call them alternative schools rather than charter schools, that truly came from a need that was developed from the district through the community. And so these are homegrown, actual, from the community alternative type schools.
Thank you. Ms. Grimsley?
With all things being the same, and with the current process and procedures calling for a requirement to review a new application, I think it's very important to take into consideration what changes were made to the original application and do they merit consideration. I agree, we should be accountable to the community, and the community revised application, then we have the obligation to then deny the application again. But the application itself under our current policies and procedures would need to be reviewed. As a former graduate admissions officer, we frequently got applications from people who had originally been denied and then reapplied, and we had to give fair consideration to the changes that they made in their application, whether they made fundamental changes or just reworded it, and then the live decision would require on those changes.
Thank you. And Mr. Tabola.
Thank you. In addition to your question, I would first refer to our fiduciary responsibility to the residents of West Contra Costa Unified School District. And I would ask myself, can we afford to have another charter school rather than examine the petition? There's a number of, there's two pieces of legislation, SB 1352, I believe, that will allow a district to deny a charter just based on the estimated negative financial impact. There's another piece of legislation, 408, that limits the district to be the only one that can decide whether a charter school is going to be settled in the district. I think that we should support those pieces of legislation and ask first of all to ourselves, do we need, do we want, and can we afford another charter school? I think the financial hemorrhage that we are suffering already is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. And the person to start us off will be Mr. Khan. Tracking students by academic performance and behavior, a once dominant practice, fell out of favor for classrooms inclusive of the full student spectrum. Yet, evidence suggests tracking can improve outcomes for higher performing students. A 2014 paper by the University of California, Berkeley economist David Card showed the students in a large urban district benefiting most from academic tracking were disadvantaged students of color, initially performing above median. The gains this group showed were equal to those of comparable students in high-performance charter schools. Other research supports these findings. Here's the question. When, if ever, is academic or behavioral tracking justified?
So I think as a school board member, that's a very serious question because it impacts how we, what choices students have and the expectation that we put on students. There's other research. I've worked with Joe Bowler at Stanford University, who's shown that for math achievement, having heterogeneous classes helps the high-performing students as well as the low-performing students. So I would not just take one piece of evidence and say this is the best way to do it. There's other evidence that shows mixed classrooms really are best for everyone. What we have to focus on is, what I talked earlier, is the skills that students need to succeed today and into the future. Collaboration, problem solving, understanding information, critical thinking, and having a growth mindset. And I think if we focus on that, then the tracking conversation is as important because we're really providing high quality education for everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Laura, same question.
It seems like tracking is one of those things in education that it's like a pendulum, goes swings this way, and then it's in favor, it's out of favor. I think the most important thing is to look at the end result. If the tracking of students with behavior problems is just to get them out of the way and to not really give their needs, suit their needs, then it is detrimental to them. So I see positives and negatives to it. And actually, I've seen more in terms of identity. For instance, culturally, sometimes you want to be with groups, or gender, sometimes those are factors as well. So bringing groups together, it's a complex issue, and it depends on the purpose and the method that's being used. So again, I would have to have more research than one piece.
Thank you. Ms. Grimsley, same question.
So there are some negative connotations to the term tracking, and historically tracking has indicated something other than something positive for, particularly for communities of color. Academic performance and behavior are important in the educational process, and I think we have to raise the bar on both a little bit. I think we really need to instill from the beginning at a pre-K level that all children are capable of achieving. Now, they're going to achieve at various levels, but we want all children achieving at their highest level of potential. And I think we need to encourage that. I would say that we need to focus on the individual child as opposed to a child as part of some subset of students in the educational process, and really encourage and hold to standards the behavior and the academic progress, and deal with the issues that are impacting those for individual students.
Thank you.
This is a really personal issue. So academic tracking and behavioral tracking, I blame this system for breaking my brother. So like I said, my brother and I, my brothers and I were all products of the public education system. And when he went from 5th grade to 6th grade, that's when it changed from going to the spectrum system to get 1s and 4s on your report card to A's, B's, C's, and D's. And his first report card, on paper, it said he was stupid. On paper, it said he was dumb. And that should not be the way that we grade our students. That should not be the way that we tell our students that they're succeeding or failing. It should be on their own individual growth. Because every day he tried his best, he improved his reading levels every time, but just because he was behind other students in the class, on paper it still said he was dumb. When you ask him what he wanted to do when he was 10 years old, he said he wanted to be a surgeon. Today, he's going into the military because school's not an option for him. So if we really wanted to adjust this to our students, we would be grading them based on their own individual achievements and how they feel that they're improving.
Thank you. Ms. Cronenberg.
Tracking as a strategy, as has been mentioned, has gone back and forth in popularity in education. And I think it's also worked for some teachers and some students and not for others. But the real fact of the matter is what Ms. Grimsley said, and that is the social overlay of just that term tracking and the process of how it's actually done. And I think in our district today, it makes sense for us to really, if we're going to attempt to group students by, we can group students by how well they are accomplishing, but that doesn't mean how well they ultimately will achieve. So I think it's up to each classroom to look at how the students are grouped within the classroom, but I think overall we shouldn't be tracking.
Thank you. Mr. Capote.
Well, we already have some form of tracking. The English learners take an exam, take a test before they enter high school, and they are placed in the English level appropriate to their needs. We just don't have we don't dare do the same thing with other subjects. If we have Algebra 1, everybody takes Algebra 1, but top 20 teachers. 60–70% of the class flunks, okay? So they need to lower the standards. What we need is give our teachers the freedom, the autonomy to design their instruction to meet the needs of the kids in front of them. And our goal should be algebra, for instance, algebra proficiency for all, now, in 2 years, in 1 year. And if you need pre-algebra or, God forbid, to mention the word remedial algebra, well, you will take it because that's what you need. Okay? So we need a more realistic, more student-centered approach to this issue of tracking or not tracking thinking.
Thank you. Ms. Block.
Tracking is not a good thing. We don't want to track. In the past, tracking has been used to take away choices from certain groups. People have been put in the low group just based on their ethnic identity. not on test scores. So the tracking is bad. But we can level kids strategically for 3 weeks to help them catch up in an area and then reassess them and put them, in with the students who know that concept. Then there's a way to do this strategic teaching, which without putting somebody in the low group in all areas for life. So New York City still tracks. We don't do it here. I'm proud of what we do in California, and I really don't think tracking will come back or should come back.
Thank you. Ms. Holloway.
As said prior to me, I believe tracking would be focused mainly on our black and brown kids, and I don't think it's necessary. I think that we need to find other measures and be more strategic in giving student choice and teacher choice in the matter and giving other options. And so my short answer is no.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez-Jarvis.
As a teacher here, I do believe in progress monitoring, and we do formative assessments. As teachers in a classroom, you can do your own formative assessments to teach you what you need to teach your kids. So when we finish doing assessments, we know which kids need more interventions, what type, what subject, and we use that to use it in real time, not like at the end of the year or get the report. No, it's like real time. I don't believe in tracking based on necessarily negative factors, like negative behaviors. I do believe in student success team plans that have action items to support students who are having behavior issues in the classroom so that they can integrate and actually perform what they need to do to learn. I also don't believe in over-assessment, but I do believe that we need aides in the classroom. If we're going to really have a classroom of 24 children, we need to have not just one adult there, but having another adult help to really manage the class, to reach the students that need the most help, instead of it just landing on one teacher's shoulders.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Gonzalez.
Tracking is downright stupid. Stupid because it assumes two things. It assumes that we only have one type of intelligence. It also assumes that once you put somebody on a track, they can never get off that track. Imagine where we would be if somebody had put Einstein on a track that he seemed to be suited for when he was about 8 years old. Bottom line is, many of my fellow panelists have said it, teachers have to be supported to be able to differentiate instruction. We need to have at least 3 tiers of instructional application within every single classroom, and there needs to be support for that to happen. And I personally, as an educational researcher, have never come across a situation where a district actively engaged in tracking and it led to improvement. So the whole idea is incompetent and downright stupid.
Thank you. In the interest of time, because we want to respect everyone's time, and I know we did get a few questions from the audience, but we are going to have to start our closing remarks, and you will each have 2 minutes in which to do your closing remarks. Members of the audience, some of the questions that you have posed, you may be able to ask them afterwards personally, if that's your preference. Starting with Ms. Block, 2 minutes to close.
Thank you. As a leader who represents a new direction for West Contra Costa Unified Public Schools, my priorities have been and always will be putting children first, rebuilding trust in our district, and equipping our students for success in the 21st century. It is clear that all the candidates here care about students and want to improve the schools. But I have served at so many different levels in my 35 years in public schools. I've been a site school psychologist, I've been a site administrator, a principal, I've been a district office administrator, special education. So I really know many areas of the way education works and the way employees feel and what we need to do to make changes. I'm unique in the group because of this. I know others of us have experience, but I also have that experience of 4 years on the board. And trust me, you learn a lot on the board. We are really doing a good job right now. We have a lot of work to do, but I came on the board specifically to improve academic outcomes and school climate for our students, and that's what we're doing. This past 4 years, I believe, has been a time of great progress, and it's not a time to make changes on the board. We cannot afford to lose our momentum. And I think the best way to keep that going is to re-elect me, Liz Block, to a second term on the school board. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Calloway.
As a product of the Richmond Public Schools and being raised by a single mom who actually didn't graduate high school, she was a teen mom, the emphasis of the importance of school and getting to what it is that you need and seeing our young people on the same playing field, right? And so I'm my mom's oldest child out of 4, and seeing how my mom went to the schools on a daily basis to make for sure that my sisters and my brother wasn't just getting passed along as my mother did when she was in school, that they passed her along and she didn't know how to read when she reached high school, which was a part of her discouragement in dropping out. And so now I'm proud to say she had her GED, but however, to see her advocate for my siblings, and when she didn't know how to advocate, there were other people around her that helped her. And I want to be that person that advocate for our parents and for our students and for our employees. I was an employee of West Contra Costa Unified School District in different capacities. I worked at Peary's and Ferdy and Lavanya Dejan as an after-school coordinator. And so I understand being that middle class, and I understand when you have a heart for what it is that you do. I have a heart for our young people. I want to see them achieve, and I want them to see them reach their highest potential, not what I may perceive their highest potential to be, but what they feel that it is, and I want to give them the resources necessary. And so, in closing, I'm a champion for our students, I'm a champion for our parents, and I'm a champion for our employees. I want to be the voice of the community because I represent our community, and I'm still in the trenches with the community. And so, I hope that you remember me on November 6th, Vanessa A. Calloway. I'm your good vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carter.
So there are 5 seats on the school board. And I believe that the school board members should all complement each other. So you have 3 seats that you get to choose for in this election, and all I ask is that I'm one of your 3 seats. I may not have decades of experience, but that's okay because you can elect somebody else who does. I may not be a former teacher in this district, but that's okay. They could be your number 2 person. The reason why this is a real argument, people. The reason why I should be your number 3 choice is because not only do I have the passion, but I have the drive. And that is to be in our schools, see what the issues are, and listen and act on that listening. So like I said, you may not have seen me before, but I've been around. I go to school board meetings. I go to SSE meetings. I go to our schools. Almost every single day I'm at a different school site. If they see me, they know I have my ideas, and they know that these are going to work for the district. I'm here putting in my time because I want to ensure that our district does the best job that it can of educating our students. Thank you.
Ms. Cronenberg.
Thank you. And thank you again to the League and to all of my colleagues. I think this was a really excellent discourse tonight. And I really want to thank whoever wrote the questions.
These were very good questions and brought a really high level of conversation around the district. So now why you should vote for me. I've been, as I said, in the district as a parent leader for a very long time, since the 80s, but I've also been a teacher for 30 years. And I won the Teacher of the Year Award back in 2003 for the program I taught in. So I'm a good teacher. And I'm a good teacher because I'm able to connect with my students and their families and with the same kind of true devotion to their needs. That's why I went on the school board. I went on the school board because of the same reason everyone else had. Well, I wanted to change things. In 2006, we were not on the trajectory we're on today. And since then, we have done nothing but go up. We have improved. We've improved in all of our academic achievement. We've improved in our facilities. We've improved in all measurable ways. But that doesn't mean at all, and we all know this, that we're satisfied with where we are. And that's why I want to continue. I was on the team of board members who hired our new superintendent. He's put plans into place. Those plans can be tweaked. He's looking at them every day. Nothing is perfect. Everything is fluid. But we are traveling on the right track, going in the right direction. And I want to continue to do that. As Ms. Block said, we have done a great deal of good work in the last 4 years. I ask you to vote for me to let me continue.
Thank you. Mr. John.
So, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for hosting and for the questions. I'm running for the school board because I think we could do better. When I look at the District 2022 roadmap and I look at the data, 70% of third graders are not reading on grade level. 70% of English language learners do not reclassify by 6th grade. 90% of African American 6th graders are not proficient in math. 60% of our graduates are not college and career ready. So I want to bring my expertise, I want to bring my perspectives to the school board to help change that trajectory. I'm an immigrant who speaks Spanish, can connect really well with a wide range of our community members. I'm a father with 2 daughters in public schools at Washington Elementary in Point Richmond, 6th grade and 1st grade. I'm a teacher that has taught in an urban, high needs, high poverty middle school and elementary school, and understand the challenges that our students face, and in many cases the trauma that our students face, and how we can best support them and how we can work with teachers and give teachers the support in order to work with our students. And I work in as a national education leader, working with superintendents and school districts that are changing and transforming their schools and their educational outcomes. So I want to bring that to the community and to the school board. So I ask for your vote. I ask for your support. You can visit my webpage at www.patricio4kids.com. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Mr. Tabola.
Well, as I said earlier, I have been a teacher in this district for 21 years, and I have a vested interest in our district. My son attended one of our schools. One of my grandchildren will soon attend kindergarten. But I must tell you, I am too interested, before anything else, in that giving all our children, all our students the best quality education possible. But I do think that the type of school, the type of system that they receive that education is all important. All important. And I think that if we may be pointed in the right direction, but if we keep going the way we are going, we're going to get to a place that we really don't want to be. We are headed, in my estimation, for a financial bankruptcy in the next 4 years, and that is happening day to day. And we won't achieve the goals of the Roadmap
22, unless we carry out a thorough, a fundamental revision of our programs, and we ask ourselves, what is it that we're doing? We have had the calamitous results that only 40% of our high school graduates are college ready. This has been going on for years and years and years. And we're not going to increase that percentage to 80% without a fundamental change in our programs, without a reorientation of our goals, our educational objectives, the content of our curriculum. I am campaigning on a program based on the following points. Public education matters. Yes, it does indeed. And let teachers teach. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez-Jarvis.
As the teacher here, being elected would mean losing my job. And I'm willing to do that. And I don't have a backup right now. And I'm okay with that because I believe in the greater good. And I believe that losing my job and putting everything I have on the line for that means everything to me. I believe in the change that we can make as a community and for our children. I believe that we need to expand dual language immersion programs to deal with a lot of the language concerns we have for English learners and for non-English learners too. How do we help them have the skills that they need for this century, including talking with people who are outside of their language groups? How do we increase their job marketability by increasing their language skills? And how do we increase reading proficiency by having transfer of skills? And that can be expanded through language programs like dual language immersion. We need Mafinique After Schools program at our schools. We need to have that be a part of our enrichment programs. Not something that's paid for by the parents, but something that we offer for our kids to learn in addition to academics, also performing arts and explore the arts. I also believe that we need to have nurses. We need to have psychologists, not part-time, not just once a week to help 500 students. We need to have them there every day. We need to have sexual abuse prevention for our girls and for our boys. How do we address that without having the staff we need on campus? How do we even begin the conversation about preventing neglect and child abuse if we don't have staff there besides the teachers? Teachers quit because there's not enough support and they wear multiple hats. As a mother, I want my daughter to have the best education and I want her to have a teacher who is supported by their community. After I earned my master's degree in urban education with a policy and administration emphasis, I chose to become a teacher and stay in the profession because I wanted to make an impact in my community. I've chosen to run for school board and I humbly ask for your vote because I want to amplify my impact. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. I too want to echo the sentiment that I really appreciate all who came out tonight and all those who will access this via YouTube. My maternal grandfather was born the year slavery ended in this country. Before he transitioned and left this earth, he had earned a PhD in education. He could never ever teach because he was born in Laurel, Mississippi. He worked in a factory his whole life. My son, the one I just mentioned earlier, who was at Harvard, thought he wanted to be a corporate lawyer until he came to this school and began to teach kids. And you can see the video on Facebook. Not only did he teach his own kids, but he taught every kid at the school before the school opened. There's a passion in me for education, and whether or not I'm in this election, I'm doing education. The only reason to vote for me is if you believe that we need an emergency response to deal with this educational system we call West Contra. Or you can get from Oakland to Vallejo on San Pablo Avenue and eventually get on Highway 80. Or you can get on Highway 80 when there's no traffic and get there a lot sooner. My only reason for running is I think we don't recognize the emergency need that we have for the lost genius and all of the kids that are crying out for help that we're not helping, that we're waiting way too long. And by the time we finish waiting, they've given up and taken another path. Earlier it was mentioned that the gap between those with a college education The income gap between those with a college education and those without is shrinking. We need to be about the business of teaching children the importance to themselves to learn and be educated.
Thank you. Ms. Lara.
Thank you. Breaking the cycle of poverty, that's what I'm going to be about. We need to create a school-to-union job pipeline so that our young people are ready for good union jobs, and using the community colleges, apprenticeship programs, the trades. Those are the things. When you look at local farming students, one of the things they all have in common is poverty. So we need to be about making sure that our students are prepared for jobs in their future. Also, I would like to see a school board that is much more collegial and demonstrates and models good problem solving, positive interaction, and teamwork. So I'm striving for that as well. Two of my favorite sayings is, let's not reinvent the wheel. We don't have to bring in things and starting all over again. When what we have here will work. And also the other is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Sometimes we had really good things going on in our schools, and then we get a directive from up high, and we had to throw out what we knew was working and start all over again. And then, so those were problems in the schools. I was fortunate to work at Helms at a time when I got there, we were the lowest performing in terms of the number of reclassification students in our ELD department, and within 4 years, we were the highest. I remember how we did that. I remember what it takes to improve instruction, and those are duplicatable skills, things that you can do in any other subjects. So I'm hoping to push that forward also. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we will hear from Ms. Lindsay.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening and listening to all of the candidates. I want to say to the current board members that I have great respect for you and the great work that you've done so far. I'd also like to say that I'd love to join your winning team and be a part of the solutions that are to come. Having worked in graduate admissions and undergraduate admissions, I've been on the other side of it, and I've seen what it takes to make someone competitively eligible to attain a higher degree at a higher education level. And I think we can build a pre-K to college pipeline that works. And I want to be a part of making that difference. I believe in educational equity for all students. I believe in academic achievement and success for all students. I believe in healthy and safe schools for all of our children. I think that we have so much that we need to do in our district, in the public schools in our district, but that we can do it. I believe we can. I believe the students deserve it. I believe the families deserve it. And I will work hard to make it happen. I have worked in the schools as in every level that I can think of, and as an instructional aide, as a yard supervisor, sat on the school site committee, participated in the PTA, tried to make a small impact. But now I really want to be that conduit between the community and the schools and the board, and working together collaboratively, communicating regularly, intervening early and often, so that we can have the premier schools in the state of California, perhaps the nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that concludes our questions. But before we all read, first we give each. I would like to first acknowledge that Ms. Cuevas, Valerie Cuevas, she was ill this evening and could not make tonight's forum, and she sends her apologies. Second, remind each and every one of you that We have 2 more forums for the school board candidates, for the West Contra Costa Unified School District candidates, September 18th at Helms Middle School. Also, October 2nd at Lavanya-Dijon Middle School. So if you didn't get a chance to have your question answered at this particular forum, we'll have that opportunity, hopefully, at one of the other 2 forums. Again, we thank each one of the candidates. League of Women Voters, we sincerely wish you our best, and we hope to see you at the next forum. Thank you.